Southwestern Ontario, this Windsor-Chatham-Sarnia triangle, is one of the biggest food-producing regions in the country. But more and more it seems there are questions about the safety of that food. A former Health Canada scientist will be in Windsor Sunday and Monday talking about food safety or lack thereof. Dr. Shiv Chopra is the author of Corrupt to the Core, a damning look at the Canadian government's handling of food safety. Dr. Chopra is on the telephone. Hello.
Good morning.
You say our food supply is not as safe as it could be or should be.
Free literature here. Thanks for coming out. I'm good. How are you? I'm good. We're putting on a presentation here, the 5 pillars of health, based on the model by Dr. Shiv Chopra concerning the food safety in Canada. We want to bring awareness and education to the public because that's going to be our frontline defense and offense in getting our food back to organic and back to being safe.
We contacted Dr. Chopra just 3 weeks ago and asked him if he'd be willing to come to Windsor and present at 3 venues that we'd already set up for something. He didn't hesitate for a second, he just said yes. The message that Dr. Chopra brought to us was that we really have to pay attention to the fact that there are a lot of unhealthy practices going on in Canada.
But without further ado, I would like to invite up to the stage our keynote speaker for tonight, Dr. Shiv Chopra.
It's a great honor to come to Windsor for the first time. Great honor to be speaking in this hall. I was invited to Windsor just to speak about food safety. The people who invited me, they were against genetically modified organisms. And I'm saying GMOs, yes, they may be harmful, but you people are not talking about other things that are going with the GMOs, and even when there are no GMOs. The whole food system has been contaminated to the point where Canadian food supply has become the most toxic on earth. Now, the 5 products that are in our food supply are hormones, antibiotics, slaughterhouse waste, GMOs, and pesticides. None of these products have been tested and verified as required under the law. Now, I'm saying if we take out those 5 things, hormones, antibiotics, slaughterhouse waste, genetically modified organisms, pesticides, automatically all food becomes organic. You don't need to test it. There should be a public investigation of Health Canada for not implementing the law. This is provided under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So therefore, it's public's right to know. And as the citizens of Canada have a constitutional right to eat and feed our families that nature makes. We should take the food out of the economic equation. That's the solution for the whole world. Thank you.
We put on 3 free events in the last 2 days and had packed houses at every one. That shows me that people in Windsor-Essex County really want their food safe. They're willing to learn more about it.
In my mind, the obvious conclusion is, thanks for enlightening me. My next question is, why aren't our politicians taking action on these fronts?
Shall I put his name?
We're an agricultural hub in Canada, and the people that have come here, there are a few farmers. The vast majority of the people who are in this group are city dwellers who are concerned about their food.
Why isn't the federal government coming on board and coming in with legislation?
Corruption. No, there is a legislation. There is the Food and Drugs Act. The Food and Drugs Act is not being applied. And the best place to start this process of thinking and probably doing something, I think, is Windsor.
We're basically a farming community. Windsor is a factory town that's a farming community, a mix, you know? So it's grassroots to begin with.
Yep. Imagine if this municipality passes just this county passes this legislation that we're going to remove these 5 items, all of a sudden, this area itself becomes agricultural industry again. I was taken to see an organic greenhouse. I had seen greenhouses all over the world, New Zealand, Australia. I thought it would be a sort of biggest greenhouse. I didn't realize that this greenhouse was over 5 acres. It was all organic. To me, it looked like an institute. It was like a laboratory where microbiology was being done.
As soon as the sun comes out, the air in there heats up and overheats.
There was a recycled material, any kind of garbage was being digested, burned, and then gas was heating the water, and that water was heating the greenhouse. And tomatoes were growing up to 15 feet high, and they were planted in January. I was most impressed.
From all different places.
So you think greenhouse for Canadian climate, it's a self-propagating, self-generating enough? Can we feed Canada?
Yeah, I think we could, whether it's, now with the global economy and there's fruits and vegetables coming from all over the world. I don't think it's very environmentally friendly or makes any logic to be eating green beans from China or from...
Exactly, or even California.
Or even California.
If there are these greenhouses in Windsor, there can be such greenhouses anywhere in Canada.
We're at Cooper's Hawk Vineyard near Harrow on Island Road.
Our first speaker actually is the coordinator of the Windsor-Essex Community Garden Collective, and he tells me he's not into long introductions, so I'd like you to put your hands together and welcome Steve Green.
I'm here today to talk to you because if you weren't interested in what's happening in your food system, you wouldn't have crowded in here today.
Well, if I'm going to be putting this food in my mouth and I'm going to be giving this to my children, I would really like to know with a clear conscience that the food that is being provided to us as Canadians is safe. Right now, I'm afraid that there's no way that I could even say that that is true.
And then I'm going to remind everyone here that you are the catalyst of change, which we need to turn around the destruction of our food system. But we are the people that need to start this food revolution. And I want to thank you very much for this time.
People in Windsor, since I visited there, they're asking me, now what do we do specifically in order to move forward? Your local businesses, your farmers, people, you go flood the council and say, this county, Windsor-Essex, we want this region declared completely organic.
I just wanted to remind everyone that the Harper government is in the process of turning our whole seed supply over to the companies, and there's a new seed act coming out, the new seed propagation act, management of seed and plants, and it's going rapidly in the wrong direction. Maybe it's time to get political, maybe to say something about that.
Right now, this is the year for municipal election. At the least, find out what the candidates are interested in and elect the people who care about local sustainable food.
That's right.
I didn't realize how much the government partakes in everything, and it's really sad that they don't abide by their own laws.
Windsor became unique in my mind. I think it could serve as a trigger point for other cities to follow.
There's something that this gentleman has to tell us about the need to make some changes in our agricultural system. From SunParlor Honey, Tom Congdon.
I'm here to speak on behalf of the honeybees. They're being killed by the millions by a pesticide. It's a neonicotinoid pesticide. The chemical is getting into our water sources. It's getting into the plants. and the government's not telling us that it's there. I feel totally let down by the government that they're siding with big business, big chemical. They're not after the best interest of Canadians and the Canadian wildlife. So there's some information on
there were 3 events in one city.
where you can go.
In 24 hours, hundreds of people came out, and not one dissension and questions and all people.
Can we arrange lunch and learns for these people so that they can get on board with this?
So you look and you see the branding, it's like GMO-free, this and that free. How reliable are those brandings?
Do you have a list of all the local butchers that we could go to?
We're going to move these presentations forward. We're not just going to be talking.
Different kind of crowd game, total mix of society, as you would see in a large city. And they all wanted to know, we know what's now wrong, and you've told us more than GMOs, but what can we do about it? If you can convince your council, county council, to pass that bylaw, we want to go organic. We simply want to go completely organic. We want these 5 substances banned. We don't care what Health Canada does. And if the council doesn't want to listen, this many people just go there. Instead of listening to me, go there. You will be hurt. So you have to save your agriculture, you have to save your food, you have to save your own supplies, and you have to take charge of yourself. Thank you very much.
I'm overwhelmed at the response that we've gotten from Windsor. I'm so impressed, and I'm so proud of Windsor for stepping up the way they have and responding to the events that we've put on here.
How likely do you think it is that our food supply could be made much safer?
It's very easy to do so if you remove these 5 substances that I'm talking about. Hormones, antibiotics, slaughterhouse waste, GMOs, and pesticides. Automatically, all food becomes organic. You don't need to certify it. Then you won't even need Health Canada for that part of it.
So how do you deal with pests, for example, if you can't use pesticides?
That's not even true, because you see, pests, what we call pests, are part of the food chain, are part of nature. Pests control each other. It's only when you start growing monocultures, year after year, rice and wheat or this crop or that crop, all the time in the same place, and keep on putting pesticides and herbicides and synthetic fertilizers and so on, you kill all life in the soil and around the soil and in the environment. So that's where the pests are coming from.
Have we reached the point of no return, though?
No. In fact, if this is stopped, you know, nature has its own way of healing itself very, very quickly. You take these pressures off, it's a matter of, within 1 year it begins to improve, within 3 years it begins to become fairly normal. And then soil will be returned to its original shape in a matter of 4 or 5 years. But if you continue with this assault, then we are committing suicide. But look at the word, what we call pesticide, herbicide, fungicide, even antibiotics, bactericide, virucide. Everything, side means kill. That means we're committing now suicide.
Dr. Chopra, good of you to spend some time with us this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Shiv Chopra is the author of Corrupt to the Core, a book about food safety in Canada. He'll be the guest speaker at 3 events in the Windsor area, all of them open to the public. Sunday at 2 at the Unifor Hall on Turner Road, Monday at 1 at Cooper's Hot Vineyards in Harrow, and Monday evening at 7 at the Komodo Club.